The Polunin Multimedia Lab is the first satellite music collection linked to the Timeline Music Annotation Library and Pedagogy server, a digital facility to enable integrated music education. Integrated music education is an education formula merging education, musicology and technology, designed for the largest component of the music chain, the listeners. This component has to be trained over their 12 years in school to become acute listeners, so they can perform a unifying role within the rest of the chain, performers, producers and service providers, relating to cultural relevance within their defined territories. The Polunin Lab is a dynamic, analog repository located at the home of Dr. Ivan Polunin, 1920 to 2010. He was a permanent resident of Singapore, calling it home for almost 60 years. He served the medical profession as an envoy of UNESCO at the former University of Singapore, 1952 to 1980. Polunin was a man of many talents. A medical doctor, he pioneered social medicine in Asia and other parts of the world. His music and film recordings were done on travel routes for his medical work. Among his many other talents, he was a 16mm film buff, as well as a prolific photographer. His products now prized as rare documents on the history of life, fauna and flora in early modern Singapore. His music collection crowns the Polunin Lab, made up of field tapes, cassettes, LPs, voiced-over DV transfers, and 16mm film collections, recorded in the field, uniquely, like so many other legendary musicologists, but Polunin is still unknown. Polunin's work in field music recordings came to light only in the late 1990s. Work to convert his working space into the current multimedia lab began after he passed away in 2010. His wife, 2 daughters, and the extended Polunin family all manage his assets today. Joe Peters saw his music collections in mid-1990s, when Polunin came to ask for advice on film digitization. Joe was then directing multimedia applications for teaching and learning at the National University of Singapore. In the process, Joe also advised Polunin to make his personal, timeline voice commentaries on digitized DV tapes. Today, these commentary tapes provide new perspectives and insights into crafting timeline music commentaries and annotations. Joe has classified Polunin as the unknown Asian musicologists. In order to understand the linkage between a satellite lab and a server, a few basic facts need to be understood. Timeline music annotation is the act of writing text directly to the sound timeline of any music. A software graphical interface, called the audio timeliner, allows text and analysis to be designed at the sound timeline. The audio asset is placed in a secure server. The audio timeliner interface acts as editor, metadata source, a computational controller, and navigator, all done and managed from the laptop or computer station. Server access is through a manager's gateway, designed to help transactions and also prevent indiscriminate downloading, much like the front desk in any office. The server architecture, including the metadata, are proprietary, because it is also used for pedagogy research and design. This is where integrated music education will do its job. The client is seen as an individual who wants to use the server for research, teaching, and writing theses, or books, or even a random listener who wants to learn more about repertoire for a coming concert, or anything that is fancied, and which is available in the server. There could be more reasons for usage. Security, which is priority, is individualized to make it attractive to private music collectors and music researchers, so their reach is wide. Collaborative work within the server, among various clients, is also possible, but with assistance from the server manager. There are mutations and possibilities to this server management structure. The bottom line is that texts, which relate to music, must be seen at the sound timeline, and all the linkages often tools in the audio timeliner interface. Why is close management and security important? Because the digital copies reflect value. When timeline annotations and linkages are done, it acts like the front face of the stock market or a bank, where the valuable collaterals are in the vault, in this case, repositories like the Polunin Lab. It is vitally important today to show collateral for the many books and articles appearing under ethnomusicology, that are full text with references to the music sources. However, these sources, the sound, which is what the text is all about, is either not there, or are hard to access. How did this idea come about? Early in his career, Joe Peters was challenged by a high government officer in Singapore that ethnomusicology was a stupid discipline. This was based on a simple observation that the music spoken about was not available for verification immediately, most of the time. The lack of a scientific method in ethnomusicology, unlike musicology, is what is in question. Ethnomusicological texts seem to be based on the descriptive method found in the humanities. More importantly, the representation of traditional and indigenous music is often done in Western musical notation. The musical systems in Asia and the wider, indigenous world are not like Western music, and cannot be represented using the 12-tone tertian system. Much work needs to be done on a proper audio representation system to make dissertations credible. Timeline annotation is a work in progress. The Polunin Lab will be the first example of a repository being represented on the digital highway, as the frontline broker of traditional and indigenous musical knowledge, and accessible by all who want to learn, or add to the learning effort. All of this is done within the private, self-owned portions of the server. Work is also in progress, applying and testing pedagogy for integrated music education, largely by graduate students.